Alright, what's up guys? So Three Houses is coming out in like a month, and ever since the E3 trailer and the Three House presentation, people are pretty hyped for it, and that's great. I'm one of the many people converted by the footage we saw in those 2 days, and I'm really glad that the fanbase is in a happier place now than it has been with regards to Three Houses, perhaps even ever. The Fire Emblem fanbase is known for its controversy and old versus new arguments, and while I never really bought into that mindset and always insisted on keeping things positive, it's hard to deny that there's been more consensus and more mutual enjoyment now than there has been before. That's good. That's great. But while we're here, I want to discuss something that I think is being forgotten a little bit that deserves more attention. So Ghast uploaded a video about how the Three Houses Marketing saved Three Houses. That was a well-made video, and I think overall it has some good observations, but there's a couple of things in there that I disagree with that I want to cast a bit of a spotlight on.
Three Houses' marketing strategy, from its first trailer to its drip feed of character content, to its massive influx of mechanic reveals, to its absolutely perfect timing to reveal its time skip and mechanics in action, has succeeded in turning many skeptics into eager, very confident fans of a game before it's even been released.
That said, this is not a Mekkah roasts Ghasts or Mekkah destroys Ghast with facts and logic kind of video. I actually talked to Ghast a little bit before scripting and recording this video, and we actually share the same conclusions for the most part. So if you haven't watched this video yet, go take a look first, link is down below, etc, etc, etc. However, there are a few things that Ghast either didn't mention or only briefly mentioned that I think deserve your attention, because while I think he captured the way the fanbase felt throughout the first part of his timeline, the parts about Awakening and Fates and hype behind them, there is a big part of the Three Houses marketing that is going under the radar a little bit that deserves to be talked about. Because I believe that the Three Houses marketing actually did a huge disservice both to long-term Fire Emblem fans, particularly those in the West, and potential new fans who want to or would want to get into Fire Emblem. So let me take you back for a minute to January 2017. We got a special Fire Emblem Nintendo Direct, and 3 things were announced. Fire Emblem Echoes, Shadows of Valencia, Fire Emblem Heroes, and Fire Emblem for the Switch.
On the distant horizon, another full-scale war is mounting. That's right. A brand new Fire Emblem game is coming to Nintendo Switch. It will mark the series' first return to home systems since 2008's Fire Emblem Radiant Dawn on the Wii console. But with Nintendo Switch, the home console experience of Fire Emblem won't be confined to your house. Look forward to a planned 2018 release.
And everyone was super ecstatic for those first 2 things, because as we know, both of the first things became pretty big successes, and the fandom as a whole was pretty pumped. And the fact that we knew absolutely nothing about Fire Emblem Switch, other than a vague 2018 release date, that was fine for most people. We had plenty of things to keep ourselves busy with, and the game was a year out anyway. It was fine. I do want to note here that I personally didn't partake in the hype for Echoes or Heroes for personal reasons. I only got into Echoes like way after the craze died down and someone generously donated me the game. Thanks again, Shurix. And Heroes, yeah, I think I've talked enough about my relationship with Heroes, so let's not. But this is how most of the fandom felt. But 2017 went by and we heard absolutely nothing again for Fire Emblem for the Switch. Nothing. All year long. And this game was supposed to release somewhere in 2018. Complete, as Ghast called it, radio silence. Now I'm an expert on the game industry or Nintendo's usual way to go about things, but the silence I felt was a bit cowardly. Like surely if there was good news we'd be hearing it, so instead we heard nothing. And the fact that we didn't have any info whatsoever became a bit of a meme, and there was even memes about like it being cancelled and stuff. And then 2018 came, and for another half year we had absolutely nothing. Nothing. And at this point the game was going to be released this year. It was pretty frustrating to say the least. There was actually a Tumblr about how many days it had been since we last got news. At one point we had been 500 days without any news whatsoever for a game that was supposed to be releasing this year. But then we finally got E3, and we finally got our title, we had our footage, and we knew that FE16 was not some collective dream that we all had. And we got a new release date too. The game was going to be out for spring 2019, and people were hyped again, I think mostly due to the hype music behind the trailer. And Edelgard's design and crest memes. And then we had the latter half of 2018, and surely now that we're going to start releasing more news, because a hype train can't last until spring 2019 without more hype trailers and more news, articles, Famitsu, whatever. Nope. There was nothing. Between E3 in June 2018 and Nintendo Direct in February 2019, we got nothing. We had another half year of complete radio silence. And then Nintendo Direct happened, and we got another trailer with Sothis and some more looks into the game, more focused on the school. This was the trailer that had me cautiously optimistic, but not as hype as the first one. For some reason it just wasn't as exciting to me, but hey, at least we got news, right? And with this trailer came another release date, July 2019. Now, last I checked my calendar, that ain't spring. June 2019, I consider that the fucking summer. Now, hold on before you pin me onto something that's not my point. My point is not exactly that the marketing was bad because the game was delayed, or that the earlier release dates were incorrect. That's not what I'm saying, but when your game is delayed, presumably twice, that looks like something went wrong from the outside. Maybe the marketing team couldn't do anything about it, it was like a higher up thing, but someone up there was a little too ambitious with their release date, and that was the cause for not one but two pretty massive radio silences for all the fandom. If you were a Fire Emblem fan during these times, you have plenty of reason to be agitated by lack of news. It really would have been nice to have heard something, even like, sorry, we're gonna have to reschedule our release date due to unforeseen circumstances, we want to bring you the best possible game. I mean, they've done that for other games, but instead they went with a deafening silence. But hey, at least now we got our marketing right. The last month or so we've been flooded with news to the point where you're barely able to keep up. We've got articles, new E3 trailer, treehouse footage, more articles, and Twitter has been releasing new character biographies that you can get to know the characters. Yeah, those biographies, they're cool, but do you notice anything about them?
フェリックスとシルバーは問題児中の問題児ですから気をつけてくださいね。昔から少し気を抜いているとどこで何をしでかすか。はあ
Or these Famitsu articles? Unless you're fluent in Japanese, you can't fucking read them. Instead, you're relying on some good Cemeterian like Vincent ASM from Serenus Forest or one of those few excellent translators on Reddit to read the characterization of your best girl or waifu or whatever cringy phrase you're using to refer to a fictional character you barely know. Picture for a moment that you're not super tuned in with the online Fire Emblem fandom. You're more like an average Nintendo fan who watches E3 but isn't necessarily into the Fire Emblem series. You're not subscribed to Mangs or Lucky Crit or someone else who covers Fire Emblem news. You don't read Serenus Forest or the subreddit on the daily. You have none of that stuff. All you got was the directs and E3. Maybe the Treehouse footage if you went out of your way, because not everyone watches all of Treehouse since it goes on for so long. Your only exposure for Three Houses so far has been those big events. You might know the game exists, but you know jack squat about it. And maybe your curiosity was called in for enough for like looking for an official website of Three Houses so you could learn more about the game. Well, you're not really in luck, because as I'm recording this, the official website only has the second trailer and pretty much no info. There's nothing on the various revealed characters or the gameplay, just a bunch of screenshots from the trailer. That trailer from Sothis, like all the way back. Sure, it says official website coming soon, but it's fucking June. The game releases next month. You've shown so much more already. Why not show more on the website? If you're a potential player of this game, Fire Emblem fan or not, and you don't speak Japanese, you need to resort to fan sites and fan translations to learn more about the game, and I think that's unacceptable. A company like Nintendo can definitely afford better marketing than this. They should not have to rely on fans to do the work for them. We have the luxury of some really dedicated fans and websites like Serenus Forest, but that's not Nintendo's doing, or Intelligent Systems. And that annoys me, it feels kinda lazy on their part. I get that word of mouth is the bad advertising, but it should not be a substitute for an actual campaign. They could have done a way better job than this. The advertising was actually what brought Awakening to most people's attention. And that game, quote unquote, saved the series. So, do more marketing, guys. Speaking of doing a better job, I want to have said this somewhere while we're talking about marketing. The frame rate during a lot of the trailers is awful. We have plenty of memes about the 15 FPS Pegasus Knights from the first hype trailer, and for a lot of the following trailers the frame rate has been sloppy. Now, I'm usually not the kind of person who picks on lower production quality. I mean, look at my YouTube channel. As I've said before, I can't tell the difference between 30 and 60 FPS or 720p and 4K, but when I find it noticeable of all people, that's really telling. And this is not about me or my perception of the game. This is about the game's marketing to a wider audience, potential newcomers. and when they see how choppy some of it looks, that might annoy them. Again, these trailers are the only exposure to this game that a lot of people get, and their best chance to show themselves at their best. They make it look like the Switch either cannot handle what they were going for, or they just weren't using its capabilities fully. Like, either way, it's a fail on their part, so there's no real excuse. All that said, the fact that we as a fan base are super hyped is true, and nothing is going to take that away. I couldn't be happier about it. Let me just be clear. I am positive on Three Houses as a whole. My main point is that we are hyped not because of Nintendo or Intelligent Systems' amazing marketing campaign, but despite most of it. There are gigantic holes in what they showed us, or times where they didn't show us anything at all, but right now we're willing to get on board. Mostly because their E3 presentations were just that fantastic. They got us hyped. But a lot of it was pretty bad. I think it's important to be both optimistic and critical as fans. One thing I did disagree on with Ghast is that he talks as if the negativity comes mostly from people looking for things to be negative about.
Fire Emblem just seemed to have this track record of getting in hot water, people wanting to find problems with the game in its development stages, finding reasons not to buy those games, and committing to that pessimistic mindset. But I can't really blame them though. It honestly started to feel like a par for the course thing. No matter what, Intelligent Systems, or whoever was making a Fire Emblem related game, was going to make a good one. And that's the big takeaway I learned from all these development mishaps and negative spotlights. No matter what, that game is going to be enjoyable.
I can be both hyped about Dimitri's badass time skip look and punching people in the face.
Just punching people in the face, you know.
But I can also be annoyed with the lack of English marketing and bad frame rates in the cutscenes. Now, how much these will impact our enjoyment of the game remains to be seen, but let's just not fall into the pitfall of blindly approving everything. We can be more nuanced than that. I mean, the Pokemon fanbase pretty much swallowed everything Game Freak put out, and look at where that got them now. Now, just one last time, just want to make it clear, I have nothing against Ghast. I think most of what he said was true, and I'm also pretty hyped for Three Houses. I actually like that game, from what I can see. So thanks for listening to me ranting about this for a little bit, just needed to get this out of my system. If you're still here, thank you for watching, and adios.